Welcome again, everyone, to TNS Radio Ireland. I am Mike Montagne, original 1968 architect of mathematically perfected economy, speaking on mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation. Archives of this program are available at tnsradio.com under the category Mike Montagne and from the domain perfectedeconomy.org. Original material, analyses, and solution, as always, are copyright and trademarked by Mike Montagne. All rights, and therefore claims of authority, are reserved. Copies of this program can be downloaded and distributed freely only so long as the entirety of this program, including this copyright and trademark notice, remain intact. If we are truly to persist in the objects of a free world with representation, vigilant citizens have to be ever mindful of every detail and nuance of the news to glean from it the real truth, however secreted or veiled by ulterior motives. Most of all, we have to realize that if we are to retake control of our governments and achieve solution, that we have to be able to distinguish what real solution is. Recent headlines convey a worsening of conditions and an inability to resolve what are the fundamental causes of the things which we somehow just seem unable to resolve, even as we suffer problems which are in fact only imposed upon us by ourselves. Now, obviously, if we were to teach ourselves to drive, we couldn't rightly say, realizing that there is an object in driving an automobile, that we would just simply veer off the road somehow. In truly restoring the objects that we intend to preserve in representative government, it's vital for us then to identify the principles that serve us. And so, with Ron Paul's recent announcement of his presidential candidacy, I think it's incumbent upon us again to bore into the prospective resolution that Ron Paul purports to represent. Yesterday I was asked, with only a few minutes' notice, to co-interview on a program out of New Zealand with a gold trader. And of course we revisited the issues of possibly saving ourselves from multiplying indebtedness by a return to the gold standard. And it was agreed, not only by the host, but the gold trader as well, that gold has no chance to save us from the present deterioration of conditions. It's odd then that after so many years and having no real success convincing any credible authority that there is some way even to return to the gold standard, much less that it could save us from present further deterioration. It's remarkable, I think, that Ron Paul persists in this rather silly proposition, and it's even more discouraging that his many supporters support this proposition of returning to a gold standard without any qualifying arguments. That is, what is the math? How much money would each of us have? How would we persist in fulfilling our contracts? Do we, in fact, truly intend, as Mr. Paul says, to return to the constitutional principle and value of gold? Or is this, in fact, the last thing that gold traders and hoarders truly desire, even as they support Ron Paul, who makes this claim of returning to honest money or constitutional money? Mr. Paul doesn't even tell us how any of these objects are met. He hasn't even in the scantest way described how we would transition to a gold standard. But the math is this. If there's $80 billion of monetary gold on hand, or whatever might be claimed to be the purported monetary reserves available to the United States with a population over 300 million people, if we divide conservatively 300 million into 80 billion, we come out with $266 per capita. As if reducing the circulation further to such a minimal circulation could somehow save us. Advocates of the gold standard claim that, all prices would simply fall and we'd somehow be better off. But just for example, could industry, with production on the shelf ready to be distributed to distributors, could it possibly reduce its prices for resources which it's already paid for, which it must clear in order to persist in business? Absolutely not. Can we fulfill our contracts, which have already been agreed in some present volume of circulation, then thereafter being deprived of the circulation to do so? How could that possibly be done? These are very important questions. Most of all, if gold is to coexist with a currency subject to interest, which it would, unless we were to eradicate the debts as they exist today under the obfuscation of the currency, which is responsible for our problems. But if gold is to coexist with these debts subject to interest, which means that in order for it not to coexist, Ron Paul would have to have proposed exactly how to resolve all of those debts as we have in our proposition of mathematically perfected economy. So if Ron Paul has a prevailing argument, which of course we've never heard, we need him to provide the transparency